Hello, numismatists. Welcome to the first video on my series that's going to be a sort of survival guide to coin collecting and little bits of information that I had trouble finding when I got into coin collecting myself and things that I think are useful for the average person. Today's video, we're going to talk specifically about 1982 pennies and the sort of weird trouble you might have with them. So, first things first. My gloves are stained because I handled a lot of standard coins with it. And normally, these coins here are doubles. I don't really need to protect them, but I thought as an educator or whatever, it would be good practice just to wear the gloves and make a point. Anyways, I'm not using my dominant hand. That's why the back ends are the stained ones. I'm using that to hold the camera so that we can get a straight image, even though I'm not doing a terribly good job here. So 1982 was an interesting year for coin collecting and for money production in general because the United States had realized that they were wasting money on coins. The melt value of a penny was exactly 2 cents, twice the value of a penny. And the only solution was to change the metal composition. But for years, we've had these beautiful little copper coins, and they're a major part of American money. And machines were already built around the way these coins were designed. They toyed around with aluminum pennies. They did not work with vending machines. And we had various other problems involving these. So there were two things they had to consider here with this is, one, the color would have to be the same so that they would not get mixed up with other types of coins. There was a problem with this 1943 steel wheat penny you might be familiar with from World War II because people would often mix them up with dimes, the 10-cent pieces. Another issue is it cannot be magnetic because a lot of machines to catch Canadian coins, which are made of steel, use magnets, which will pull them aside and trap them outside of the American coins. Now, what they decided upon was copper-plated zinc as opposed to pure copper. And what I have here are two piles of pre-1982 pennies and post-1982 pennies. And I'll get into that in a little bit. But in 1982, they switched out the metal composition from copper to zinc. And an interesting thing happened. We had pennies from both mints that were made of both metals. And a lot of collectors say there are 7. And I'll explain why there's 7 and not 4. There are 7 pennies because if you'll look really closely here, and it's really hard to see, and I'm sorry about that, you'll notice between these two, the date is a different size. And I can show more examples of that, of course. You can see the date changes size. There are 8 different ones, but one of them is extremely, extremely rare, so most coin albums do not track that one. And there's only like 2 known examples. I would not recommend looking for one. And that one would be the 1982 Delaware copper small date, which does exist, just in very small quantities. It's like a holy grail. It's one of the many coins. It's up there with the Canadian dot penny. You will not find one of those in normal standard circulation. A lot of those were perhaps error coins even. But so you have different size dates to look out for and different metal compositions to look out for. And the most I can say for the dates to make them easy to find is, if you zoom in really closely, you can see that on a large date, the 2 of 1982 basically rubs up against the rim there at the very edge of the field. And on a small date, 1982, you can see, if I can focus the camera here, there is a little bit of space there between them. There's also more you can note. For example, the 9 and the 8 stretch a little bit higher on the large dates. You can Google reference images that are done in like microscopes and stuff. There's some crazy detailed images on the internet. I recommend looking some up before you get into the coin collecting, but I'm going to show you 4 examples right here of Philadelphia and Denver, large size, small size. All of them are lined up right here. But that's not what you're here for. You're wondering, sleepless, how do I tell a copper penny from a zinc penny? Because they look visually identical unless they're in perfect condition. And I'll answer that question for you. One way you can tell is by measuring them, although I have found that measuring coins on a standard kitchen scale is not an accurate way to do it. And the amount of money and time you get to put into finding a good scale for this might not be worth your while if you're early in the coin collecting hobby. And 1982 pennies are one of those things you'll see a lot of. The first time I had some, I had an entire roll of nothing but 82s to sift through. I didn't even find them all in that time. Anyways, so you might not want to weigh them, but if you do want to weigh them, a copper penny is heavier than a zinc penny. A zinc penny weighing 2.5 grams, a copper penny weighing roughly 3.3 grams, give or take. But again, that's not the best way to tell. I'll tell you guys the fastest, easiest way to tell. What I have here is a hollow plastic table. The reason I have this is because it emits the most noise when something hits it. You hear that? Very loud, right? Okay. This is a penny from before 1982. All pennies before 1982 are made of copper. Listen very closely to the sound it makes when it hits the table. I'm going to drop it again. Do you hear the little ring in that? Listen close. Let's drop another one. You hear a little ding underneath it. Listen very closely. Oh, well, it came towards me here. Also, if you drop it on cement, it makes a very distinctive noise. I don't recommend dropping your coins on cement. That would not be good for them. But you can hear there's a little ring. I dropped it on the floor. You can really hear it there. Now listen to a zinc penny drop. It does not have that ring. Hear that? Hear the difference? I'll do them side by side, don't worry. Okay, here's a copper penny. Here's a zinc penny. And I know I shouldn't do this, but I'll do it on cement real quick for you guys. I'm in the basement. I have access to a cement floor. We'll hear them side by side where it's just that noise. Because there's a lot of like rattling on this table, of course. A lot of tables are not good for this. You got to be very careful what table you pick. You can always hear it, but it's super subtle on some surfaces. Cement is the best surface if you're careful with the coin. Obviously, you'll damage the coin doing this. If you don't care about that, go ahead. These are not tradable after this. I'll say it that way. Here's a copper penny on cement. I'll show this. There's a cement down there. We're going to drop it on. Here's copper on cement. Here is zinc on cement. You can really hear it there. So that's my tip for anyone out there who just wants to start getting into coin collecting, who wants to do these copper and zinc 1982 pennies. And there's better ways of telling if you have the technology. But if you're poor like me and you just want the fastest approach to doing this, this is the best way, in my opinion. Anyways, thank you for watching. I will come back at you next week with another video, hopefully. If you guys have any suggestions or requests for videos, remember to leave them in the comments below. And if you're new to coin collecting, feel free to show me your collections. Tell me about all the cool things you find. Keep me updated. I am interested in my influence on the community. Anyways, you guys all have a nice day, and I will see you in the next video.